Okay, everybody. So introductions are done, disclaimers and all of those things. I want to welcome everybody to the Resilience and Self-Love discussion group. We're going to go ahead and jump right into it. Let's see here. So, I've been having a lot of conversations about accountability, missing the things that we didn't receive when we were growing up, dealing with childhood trauma, things of that sort, right? And so, as part of those discussions and just coming out of that energy, today's topic is going to be about the inner child's guardian, right? So, today we're getting into reparenting through awareness, compassion, and something that we are choosing to do by choice, not letting the actions of others or letting the past rule what we're doing in the present, which also affects what's happening in the future, right? So we're always worried about what we're doing in the present because we plant seeds now, and then those seeds they grow and we harvest those seeds, right? So there's no need to keep harvesting or planting, watering, nurturing what's from the past. So today we're going to be talking about um, how to plant some new seeds today and so we can harvest something different, okay? If you have never been exposed to me, I'm all about focusing on the self, all right? Life is an inside job. I'm always saying that. Life is an inside job. So that's where the foundation is in my frame of space, okay? If we're building a solid foundation, then our house pretty much won't go to shits when the big bad wolves come to blow our house down. You remember that story with the three little pigs? And is it the three little pigs? Yeah, the three little pigs and the big bad wolf, and one pig, they built their house and it got blown away, right? Then another pig, one was a straw. I can't remember what they built them out of, but I know that last pig, he had a brick house, and that wolf came blowing and blowing and blowing and blowing, and he could not blow that house down, right? So the two little pigs had to run to the third little pig house and get them some shelter. Now, we've been having some bad weather lately. So with a hurricane or a tornado or an earthquake or a monsoon or a tsunami, you know what that can do. And sometimes people and experiences in our lives can be just like that weather. I don't want to get into that because that's something that I've already done for the self-paced modules. If you don't know about that, go check that out on Shea's Pretty Skinny passion.io. That's a self-paced situation that lays a foundation. That is the point of that self-paced program, is to lay a foundation that you can build upon. Anywho, though, before we start diving into everything, I do want to seal our space here together, and I want us to try to get on the same page. That's the point of being in this discussion group and meeting together, right? We're all coming from different backgrounds. Maybe we have different experiences that we want to deal with, but right now, in this moment, we're all on the same accord, okay? So we'll start with a couple of affirmations that I want you to speak to yourself. Excuse me, you could do that aloud or in your mind. Either way, it's your voice, right? So I want it to be in your own voice. And we're going to do two affirmations today. First, I just want you to commit to the space for yourself today and focusing on the task at hand. And so if you just repeat after me, that I create space for truth and tenderness, because I want you guys to be compassionate with yourselves. Today's topic may bring up some emotional responses that you did not prepare for, right? And I don't want anybody to feel embarrassed about that or feel like we can't be vulnerable in this space. I procure spaces where vulnerability is basically a requirement. So no one need to feel ashamed about that. If you drop a tear today, that's okay. We're releasing things, okay? And so the second affirmation is I release all expectations and enter this virtual space as I am, whole, healing, and becoming. I saw some mouths moving. I saw some mouths moving. Everyone is on mute, and there will be moments for discussion, like I said earlier, and then you guys will be brought off mute. Today, there will be an opportunity to be paired up, so don't be afraid of each other. If this is your first time here, nobody's going to bite you, I promise you, because we are separated by screens. Uh, So we did our affirmations. If you need to take a couple of deep breaths, I want you guys to do so anytime you need to. After, like I said before, after the introductions are done, if you feel more comfortable, turn off your screen, or you need to take a break, you can do that. However, when you guys get paired up together, I think it's courteous to be on camera. It's always nice when you can see someone. I'm not a big fan of being on camera, but here we are. Okay, so in the chat, let me do that really quick. In the chat, you're gonna find a PDF document, okay? And I want you to take a moment to silently check off the experiences that resonate from the worksheet. All right, that's what that PDF is. And for those individuals, let me grab my phone. For those individuals who cannot access the PDF for whatever reason, maybe you're driving, maybe you're watching the replay, I'm popping it in the chat as well. And then let me get an opportunity here to say those selections aloud for you guys. Okay, so you can just note the experiences that you resonate with. You don't have to share them or indicate, whether you do or you don't. Just hold that space in your mind. So experience number one, I felt like a burden. Experience number two, I had to earn love through performance. Experience number three, affection or praise was conditional. 4, I was emotionally neglected. 5, I felt like my parent resented me. 6, I felt responsible for my parents' happiness. Was that 6? 7, I was afraid to express needs or feelings. And the last one is I was compared to other siblings or other people in my family often. So as you're reflecting and probably recalling some of those experiences as we chat, I want you to remember that identifying these wounds is not about blaming yourself, and it's not about blaming your guardian, parent, whomever you were raised by, right? Whoever the adult was in charge in your life that was responsible for helping you build your foundation. It's not about blaming, okay? What this is about is clarifying where healing is needed or what healing is needed, okay? And that's how we restore our foundation. If our foundation has cracks or it's missing some type of equipment, some kind of hookups, right? What we need for connection, we first have to identify what it is, right? Before we can actually, before we can address it. And when you are thinking about those things and you're thinking about those statements, right? Thinking about how you felt growing up or how you were made to feel, right? Because as a child, you're just being guided, supported. And if a parent guardian, whomever is looking over you is absent, they're not present, they're not invested. And that could be for many reasons. It could be because they don't know how to do that. Parenting wasn't modeled for them. You know, everybody has a parent, but everyone's not parented, everyone's not reared. And so that can be something that's just what you think it's supposed to be like, right? And not knowing that there's other options. So we can get into this blaming game and being upset with the individual, but there's many reasons why that individual is that way, right? But it doesn't mean that we have to choose to continue that cycle. We could choose differently. And that's what this session is about, choosing differently through reparenting, okay? So I want you to think about the patterns of beliefs and what that created in you. Like, how did it make you feel? And did you internalize those experiences? Did you feel like what was received or what you experienced ended up being a personal flaw of yours? Do you feel like you have needs that are still unmet, but maybe it's difficult to talk about it with your parent? Do you feel like they're the only ones who can fill in those holes and those cracks? I mean, when we talk about feelings, you might be thinking something like, I'm too much. Maybe you were told you too much. I've been told that many times. I tell people I'm really for much, but I just give you the two. Maybe you felt invisible, unseen, okay, not heard. We have that saying, at least I'm familiar with that. Children should be seen and not heard. So when I say invisible, I mean not being able to express those feelings, feelings not being validated, okay? Maybe you grew up thinking I'm difficult to love. And so now in your connections with friends and family and partners, you feel like you're difficult to love. And maybe some of your actions align with being difficult to love, okay? And those things are the root, those are the identification, right, of the problem. Where we may, like, where is that crack? Where do I need to fill things in? Where are my connections missing? So that's what we're doing with this exercise and how I have you reflect. Okay, so as you're thinking about that, identification, and naming the root of the problem, not just trying to cover it up, not trying to fake it until we make it, but actually identifying the problem, okay? So now that we've taken a look to reflect, taken some time to reflect on those roots a little bit, I want you to be able to reclaim your inner voice, okay? And you're like, well, what does that mean? You want me to talk to myself? In a way, because I want you to be thinking about what it is you need. Okay, so if you're looking at our sheet here, you're going to write 3 things. I want you to take a moment. Everybody's going to take a moment and reflect on 3 things that you needed to hear in your younger years. Okay, what is it that your younger self needed to hear? And I want you to think about 3 things. And if you need to, because reflecting on those roots, it can be overwhelming sometimes. Sometimes we're so busy and distracted that we haven't had a chance to think about those things. Maybe we compartmentalize and we don't want to think about those things. And so grounding breaths can be something that recenters us, and also a way that we can experience some release in the moment. All right. So as you're thinking about those 3 things that yourself needed to hear, if you need to go off camera while you're thinking about these things and have some breaths, please do that. Okay. On your inhale, have those experiences, hold those experiences, right? But as you exhale, I want you to blow those experiences away from you, kind of like a leaf blower. When you see the leaf blower blowing away debris, I want you to imagine those experiences being blown into the wind, something that you cannot access again, right? Because once the gardener comes and blows the leaf blower, right, it looks so much better. You can always tell when spring has come, right? If you're in the South, you could always tell when spring comes. So I want you to imagine it that way. Inhaling, those experiences are there in the front of your mind. And exhaling, we are blowing them away, clearing them from the front of our mind. Okay, so go ahead and do that a couple of times if you need to. Sometimes we may not get into a specific experience, okay, but our thoughts and reflections are here with us, and sometimes those experiences become very heavy and they weight us down, okay? And the pain of being weighed down can weigh on our tear ducts too, okay, and pull some water down our faces. And that's okay. That's why I said today might be a little bit of a heavy experience, but I wanted you to be ready to clear some space so you can make room for new tools and new experiences, because that's what you deserve. Okay, you don't have to wait for someone to give that to you. It's okay to give that to yourself. It's a gift to yourself, a gift that you deserve. All right, you don't have to wait for a parent or a loved one or a significant other to give it to you because they're saying that you're worthy. You are worthy. Before they even validate that, you are worthy. And so you're able to give that gift to yourself. And I want you to feel comfortable doing that after this session today, because the gifts we give ourselves, okay, in this space are gifts we can share with others, we can show it to them, okay, because it's a gift of being our best self. And when you're your best self, that's very difficult to hide. And why would you want to hide it? Who wants to hide their authentic self? Okay. Um, so we're writing down those three things, right? And I'm just talking away because I don't want you to feel pressured. Don't feel like you have to hurry up and get that done. All right. Now, some of us, we were raised by parents who couldn't, or maybe they wouldn't see us, right? Like with the avatar, I see you. They couldn't see us for who we were. They couldn't allow us to express ourselves. And most times, like I said, it's not just a result of not being able to give themselves, or not wanting to. Sometimes they're not able to give themselves that same gift that we're talking about today, right? It wasn't modeled for them. Therefore, they're not able to realize it and then pass it down, right? So that's not our fault, but it's also maybe not their fault either. Now, some people make choices to be the N words that they choose, or to be checked out. You know, sometimes people have children or they become parents, and that's not exactly what they imagine their life to be like. Sometimes how they imagine parenthood isn't exactly how it turns out to be, right? So there's so many different feelings that are there that don't belong to us. And those are things that we can't do anything with, okay? We can just do things with what's going on with us. So that's what we're doing today, all right? And it's really not our responsibility to do anything with that stuff. If you were at the well, I posted that video about what belongs to us and what doesn't belong to us. It is in the Facebook group, I believe. So I'll try to put that on YouTube and share that as well. But yeah, that's something that doesn't belong to us, okay? It's our responsibility to witness the truth of our experiences, how we're framing those experiences, okay? And we can do that, and I want you guys to do that without shame, because there's not a reason for you to have shame, okay? We all, if you're still here and you knew what this is going to be about today, and you stayed after the introduction, then maybe there's some part of all of us in here that needed to hear words that we never received growing up. Okay. And today we are actually going to take the time to offer that to ourselves. And we're going to do that because we want to get in the frame of mind of consistency. So we want to start doing that here in this session, and then we want to continue after today's session is over, okay? This ain't like Sunday church when you just, you being good on Sunday, and then the rest of the week you raising hell. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that, Okay. We not, we're not gonna do that. So, the three things that your younger self needed to hear. I won't have you guys share that out loud. Yeah, I won't have you guys share that out loud, but you can drop it in the chat, okay? If you feel comfortable sharing that, you can share that in the chat. If you just want to send it to me, that's fine too. I'm fine with that. What I want to do is make a transition. So we'll share that. I'll pause the recording and we'll talk about that a little bit. So I want you to start thinking about what's something loving today that you can offer yourself. Okay. So we're going to rewrite what we needed to hear and transition it into something that we can offer ourselves today and something that we can stand on today. Okay. So we call that an affirmative rewrite. So let's just say, for example, if you believe that you were a burden, right? Then your affirmative rewrite might sound something like, I now choose to believe that I am worthy of love just by existing. The format that you can use, and if you're looking at the worksheet, the format that you can use is instead of believing blank, I now choose to believe blank. Okay, and you're filling in the blanks. Blank is not what you believe. That's what you're filling in, right? So instead of believing, insert here, I now choose to believe, insert here. Okay. And don't worry about being perfect. All right. Nobody in here needs to make the rewrite eligible for a Pulitzer Prize. Okay. It's not a contest. Just be straight about what you would tell your own child if you had a child, right? So if you were your own child, what would you say so that they don't develop this crack in the foundation, right? The crack that you're experiencing, the missing connection that you're experiencing, what would you say? Okay. And kind of like go from there and just let it just be natural. It doesn't need to be perfect. Okay. Sometimes when we're going to be in a sharing mode, we want to get perfect and we want to make it sound great, but it doesn't need to sound great. It just needs to be true. Okay. And true to us. We each have our own experiences. So don't worry about that. Okay. But I do want you to internalize what you would say to that child because you're speaking to your inner child. Remember, we talked about that the title was about parenting or being the inner child's guardian, right? So you are that guardian. You are your guardian when we're talking about reparenting, okay? If you feel comfortable sharing them in the chat, we can do that too. But let's take a moment and we will pause the recording really quick. Okay, and let's just have a little bit discussion about that. Okay. So let's jump to the reparenting plan. Okay. Now, if you think reparenting is about becoming your parent, that's not what it is. Okay. Nothing like those commercials about not becoming your parent. That's something that you're probably going to experience soon or a little bit later, all on your own, and it will be a little bit funny to you. But that's not what reparenting is about. Okay. Reparenting is about filling the roles that your parents did not fill for you as a protector, as a navigator, as a nurturer, as a guide, right? As a source of support. So reparenting is about you being able to fill that role for yourself, not waiting for someone to love you who can externally come into your life and fill that role, but being able to take the power to fill that role now, okay? And for the reparenting plan, if you are looking at the worksheet, you're going to be in part 3, okay? And there are 3 sentences there that I want you to take a look at. I want you to think of some things that you can do today, not what you want to start doing, like what is possible for you today to nurture yourself like a loving parent would, how you imagine a loving parent would. Okay. So let me just say those prompts. I can drop them in the chat as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pair you guys up really quick to write and reflect. So I want to give you some time for this activity. I don't want anybody to feel rushed, but I also want you guys to share something around at least one of those prompts. Okay. Just remember that we seal this space. So when we're sharing, we're releasing what can no longer be part of our foundation. Okay. We're filling the cracks and installing the equipment. All right. So I'll give you guys about 15 minutes. That way you can have time to brainstorm, write, and share around the prompts that you want to share about. Okay. If you can get a couple in, go ahead. But at least try one of them. Okay. Just for that act of release. All right. Because that's where we're getting rid of that. We're taking it out of our subconscious, because once we speak it here, what we're moving forward with is our reparenting plan. Okay. That's what we're trying to move forward with. So we'll pause here. If you're watching a replay, you could do some reflection in your journal. And I do suggest doing a lot of the release activities. If I say an activity is about release, I do suggest doing those in a journal that can be discarded once it's filled up. That's why I like to do the worksheets too. So you can kind of throw those things away, or it's an act of release, right, for the information and energy that no longer serves us. So we're going to do the discussion for about 15 minutes. And then if you're watching the replay, go ahead and pause here and do your reflection, okay? Oh my goodness, I just left my people who were on the replay. I left y'all hanging, and I apologize because you cannot see the chat because it's not recorded. But look here. There should be a PDF if you're looking at it on YouTube. It should be there in the information section. So I hope you saw that. But if not, let me just review those really quick. We have when I feel unloved, I remind myself blank. When I feel unworthy, I will do blank. When my inner child needs comfort, I will say blank. Okay, so those are the few sentences that we completed to help us kick off our reparenting plan. And so a lot of people have come into a meeting or a group with me and asked me to define self-love or self-care, right? Because sometimes it's unclear the messages that we receive. There's all this feedback and input about what it might be. Then things kind of get put together on social media because we want everything to be beautiful, and we want everything to grab our emotions, right? And we want everything to look great, because when things look great, we are attracted to that, especially if we feel a mess, okay? And so a lot of the times we think that self-love is not accessible, right? Because we don't have the time, or we don't have extra money to do all of that. But it doesn't cost us in that way, right? If we shower, if we sleep, if we rest, if we take a break, if we eat, those are daily life activities that we forsake as time for self-care and moments to love ourselves, okay, to maintain the balance that we need and to maintain our health. And what's important to know is health is our true wealth, whether that's going to be our emotional health, our physical health, our mental health. That's our true wealth. That is our foundation to be able to do anything that we need to do, to be able to do anything that we want to do, okay? So we may need to take the time to cry, right? Do we have a safe place to do that? That's part of self-care. Release. Crying is release, okay? We need to release to grow. And we know, what does water do? Now, them some salty tears, but water destroys, right? But water also helps us to grow. So that release gives us space to grow. We may need to learn how to say no to people. We don't need to always be agreeable. We don't always need to say yes. Okay. We may need to take time to have a candlelit dinner, even if it is just by ourselves at home. Maybe we need to take the time to go out and have someone serve us for a moment. Okay. Maybe we need to be intentional about the meals that are prepared for us. Okay. So we do it ourselves. We want to control what's going in the body, right? Are we what we eat? You got to answer that question on your own. But maybe we need to sit out under the sunset and have a picnic, even if it's with ourselves, right? Don't forsake yourself for experiencing those things that you think about in your mind, especially if you're thinking about, oh, I'd love to have a candlelit dinner with my partner, but I don't have a partner. That's okay. You can still have a candlelit dinner. That's okay. You can still have a picnic. That's okay. You can still go see that movie. That's okay. You can still go to that concert. That's okay. You can still have that bubble bath. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. All right. That's okay. You can still wear that special outfit. Okay. You can still buy it. The special occasion is you breathing and having space and opportunity to be your authentic self. That is the occasion every day. So whatever it is that you want to do, especially for you, and you want it to be a special moment, space and opportunity. Okay. And when you open your eyes, you have space and opportunity. Okay. Um, we may need to speak to ourselves gently. Maybe we're harsh with ourselves, right? We need that self-compassion. We may need to take a walk. All right. Gym membership is not required. I've been in a situation of just walking 2 miles a day. You might have a furry companion. Take them outside too. They love it too. Okay, I used to say that. If you don't have a lot of body movement and you want to get into it, walk to your mailbox. First start 1 time a day, then 2 times, then 3 times, maybe walk there 5 times, walk to the end of the street, walk the whole block, walk 2 blocks, walk to the neighborhood store. But start out small. We always think that we got to make these grand gestures. We don't need to make grand gestures, right? We don't need to make it complicated, okay? We don't need to exhaust ourselves. And sometimes we do exhaust ourselves trying to make it apparent that we love ourselves and that we treat ourselves well. When most of the time, we just need to be consistent, okay? And we just need to be intentional about the small things, the everyday things that are happening in our life. All right. Consistency, 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 consistency. And all the little steps always lead up to something. Okay. Don't worry about taking big steps. All the little steps still add up. All right. So right now, I'm going to make an ask of you. You see, we have this anchoring statement here. So I'm going to make an ask of you that it may seem a little silly, especially if this is your first time doing it, right? But again, in this session, when we get together, we're talking about releasing things, right? Because we want to leave those things in this meeting, right? That's our intention anyway, to leave the things that no longer serve us and then take the things with us that's going to help us continue to grow, right? And that takes practice. And we practice those things every day until we meet again, right? And then before you know it, it just becomes something that's second nature, all right? And I know a lot of us in here have pledged allegiance to the flag, okay? And we've done it with a bunch of folk that we don't even know. But we'll do it anyway, and we say it out loud like we mean it. Okay, and so this experience might feel a little bit similar, except at least you are in the comfort of your own home. So I want you to do something first, though. So I want you to take your hands, and I want you to rub them together. And I want you to rub them together until you feel heat. And you're gonna feel heat. Okay? I'm feeling it right now. So I want you to do that. And I want you to take your right hand, okay? Or if you choose, take both hands, okay, with your right hand closest to your heart. And if y'all got 2 hearts, like we're gonna use the one on the left, okay? If you got 2, it's the one on the left. So you're gonna take your right hand, you're gonna put it over your heart. If you want to use 2, do that, okay? And I want you to use this anchoring affirmation and say it out loud right now. Now, everyone is muted, but I can see your mouth moving. Okay, I can see it. Okay. And even if you don't say it out loud, you hear yourself saying it. But let's try to move our mouths, okay? So, one, two, three. I was born whole. I left my. I am not a mistake. I am a divine expression of love. I protect, guide, and support myself in truth, in safety, and in tenderness. I saw some mouths moving. I did. I saw some mouths moving. I want that to sink in. You were already born whole, okay? You are not a mistake. You're not. You are an expression of love, piece of a divine whole, 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 okay? Don't forsake your own power. Let me move y'all along here. All right, so we come to the discussion part, and I do want to open the floor for some discussion because I do believe that engaging each other is how we build. And I also learn a lot from everyone too during the discussion time. A lot of ideas come up. I'm not exempt from sharing either. So you're not coming here, and I want you to understand that if this is your first time here, then people who've been here before, you know that you're not coming here to be taught. You're not coming here to just be told stuff, right? I am not your guru, all right? You are coming here to share energy with like-minded folk, all right? Now, I might be facilitating the session, and all that means is that I'm the person committed to curating the space or holding the responsibility for the space, okay? But that's it. We're all here on one accord with one intention, and that's to be our best selves, right? How we frame this experience may be different, but we're all here to be our best selves, right? And be committed to that and create some consistency with it. So that's why I believe the discussion pieces are sacred and they are not recorded, because I do put the presentation piece on the social sites or whatnot for other people who aren't able to make the meeting, but not the live discussion. So I do believe it's something that we have unique when we're able to interact live with each other. But I also believe the energy being carried through is still something that's beneficial to individuals who see this replay and they go through reflection and they see, you know, the discussion questions and have that interaction with themselves. Or maybe you watch the replay with somebody or with your partner or with your children or whatnot, with your friends. I don't know, but it's all beneficial. Okay. But I don't record the discussion pieces because this is not about like exposing people or anything of that sort. It's not about that. But I also value working smarter and not harder. So don't put me on any kind of pedestal. So there is a benefit to recording the presentation parts, okay? Again, if people cannot show up physically, because I do understand that, and sometimes the time zone that you're in, I work with people that are across the lines of the United States. So sometimes there's like a 6-7 hour difference or whatnot. So sometimes people just can't make the meetings, and I understand that. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to unmute everybody and we'll pause the recording so that we can have some interaction here. And then these are the 3 prompts. So feel free to piggyback on a comment. If you hear somebody share and it sparks something in you, feel free to do that. But the 3 prompts that we're discussing is going to be what will you offer your inner child this week? What word or image captures your reparenting journey today? And what do you want to affirm about your ability to transform your foundation? When you share your word, I do want you to kind of elaborate and give a why, okay? I want you to talk it out. And like I said, if you feel inspired by what someone else is saying or it sparks something or a point, then definitely feel free to chime in. You could use your hands. There's like little reaction buttons in the Zoom. You can see it on your toolbar, and there's a raise your hand. So if conversation starts to cross, if everybody can just do that, and that way we'll get to everybody. Okay, so let's pause the recording for a moment before we close. Ooh. Okay, so that was a really empowering discussion. Thank everybody for participating and lending your energy to it. I don't know about you, but I am feeling a little juiced up, right? I'm ready to go ahead and pump something out for next week, but I'm gonna take a rest. But I already got an idea in my mind. That's why I say I love going with the flow. Like I do have like I'll sit down and write a few topics out or whatever, just in case. But usually, especially when there's a lot of interaction and engagement, there's like a flow to the energy. So something will be sparked in this meeting that inspires the next meeting. So I'm always grateful for that. All right. But I don't want the meeting or this meeting to be the end, especially if this is your first time of that feeling, right? If you're feeling pumped up, you're feeling empowered, then catch the replays. Definitely come again, okay? Because I want you to be able to be consistent with this feeling and feel this way frequently, okay? I don't know how many of y'all are familiar with Plies. Plies. He is a artist. I guess a rapper, right? But he does some social media content. But every time I see that man on social media, he is smiling like he just got a new set of teeth. Okay. Like seriously. And he has some really good energy, right? And so I'm very realistic about experiencing a full range of emotions because that's what's getting us through these experiences, right? And it's inspiring some actions for us to do things to move out of our comfort zone, right? But too many times we are weighted down, and my goal is to get you in a space where you can choose to escape the loop of sorrow and kick out the company, right? That's bringing misery, regardless of whatever the circumstances are, whatever's surrounding you, right? Whatever experience you're in. I don't want you to forsake the moments that are meant to build you, that are meant to get you to smile, that are meant to lift you up, right? Even those people who are around you, they may not be experiencing misery and sadness and depression, at the same time. It's not a sin for you to experience happiness when they're on the downturn. It's not a sin for them to experience joy when you're on a downturn. Those are moments that can be used to energize each other and to give your mind a break, to give your heart a break, right? From being in that hamster wheel of misery. So today I want you to leave here choosing yourself, okay? Choosing yourself. Because when you choose yourself, there's some healthy connections that come out of that, all right? I want you to be able to choose your truth and not how people make you feel, okay? But how you deserve to feel and choosing to love yourself first. I call it fly. First, love yourself, okay? Fly, all right? There's nothing wrong if you don't have present parents, if you didn't have that, and if you're in a situation where that can't happen now, there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has different reasons, okay? And everybody chooses differently. And you can't make people choose differently. They have to choose, all right? You may have parents who were unable to help you build you to be your best self, and they're unable to contribute to that now. Maybe they're grappling with something themselves, okay? And so you are breathing now. You are breathing today, all right? And there's nothing but space and opportunity right now. There's no reason for you to take advantage of that. There's no reason for you to wait for a gift that you can give yourself. So I want you to take advantage of the opportunity to give yourself these gifts because you deserve it. All right. Be the parent to your inner child. You're that guardian. It's your responsibility. Okay. And just be the parent that you thought you should have had. All right. And right now become your protector, not building up walls, not shutting people out, but tuning into your intuition so you know when to disconnect, so you know when to distance, so you know what to share and what not to share, so you know who you can trust with your most vulnerable feelings and experiences. Okay, so tuning into your intuition, showing up for yourself, all right, supporting yourself, loving yourself, and allowing yourself to be, all right, to be authentic. That's not always easy because sometimes people hate that you're authentic with yourself. And it's not that they hate you, they hate that they can't find the space. And we each have to find the space for ourselves. We can't find the space for each other. We can model a space, all right, but it's our own space. And so we each have to find our own space, all right? And sometimes that can be frustrating if you can't locate the space. And that's what we're doing here every week. If this is your first time, I do want to welcome you back on any given Sunday, okay? I don't know if anybody saw that movie, but I used to like football a lot. But on any given Sunday, you can come to a meeting at it's 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, noon Eastern Time, 5 p.m. if you are in, let me see if I get this right. If you are in Nigeria, wait, yeah, 5 p.m. Wait, I might have a mixed up, y'all. It might be 4 if you're in Nigeria and 5 if you're in Ghana, because I have some people that are located over there. Somebody let me know if I got that mixed up, because I think I got it mixed up. My apologies, my apologies. And then there's a second meeting, but that meeting, it's also on Sundays. That meeting is for women only. If you have a womb, that meeting is for you at 12:30 or actually 10:30 Pacific Standard Time in the AM, 11:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, 12:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6:30 Nigerian time, and 5:30 Ghanaian time, I think, or those times are switched around. But that second meeting is for biological women only, and that is because we talk about wombs in there, okay, and things that have to do with the womb, and sometimes there's different connections to that. So if you don't have a womb, but you want to be in on it, then message me on social media, and I always figure out a way to work that topic into that first meeting, because no matter how you identify, the first meeting's for everybody, okay? But some people are not comfortable talking about some very intimate womb issues. And so that's why that meeting is procured just for people with wombs, okay? We'll make it real easy on the identification. We're not about to go back and forth, okay? Also, the formats can be a little bit different between the meetings. So depending on the energy in the meeting, but the second one tends to have more discussions, like with activities and stuff like that. And if I think the activity is beneficial for the first meeting, I'll post that. Sometimes the topics are different, but a lot of the times they kind of resonate with each other. They may not have the same perspective. Okay. So sometimes I can use the same worksheet, but either way it goes, whichever meeting I decide to post in the Facebook group, the worksheet goes with it, okay? And then I will start probably posting the second meeting, the womb meetings, because there's been some interesting things and some good conversation coming out of those meetings, which is this meeting. And then I'll start posting those on YouTube for people to access as well. So that's another way that you can access the womb meetings if you don't have a womb, okay? And you can get into it with those subjects. But, you know, join the Facebook group too, because I'll post things in there if you're interested. And The topics can be the same, but what happens may be different. So unless you're in the meeting, you're not always a part of what's happening, right? But the foundation is always laid in the presentation. So it works out. It works out. So I just want to thank everybody for showing up today, showing up for yourselves, showing out for yourselves. Okay. And I look forward to meeting you next week. You guys have a good one.